Hello everyone, it's Fallout 4 guy here and welcome to the behind the scenes video to my recent surplus store, gun store, weapon shop, whatever you want to call it, at the Slog. So just quickly, if you're not familiar with the behind the scenes series that I do, basically it's not a tutorial, it's more of a walk around, a tour so to speak, but in workshop mode. So you get to see all the objects used for certain things, and I also talk about some of the, the thought process and the reasoning behind why I've used this or that, or why I've done certain things. So yeah, so not a tutorial, but not a tour either. If you want to see the actual tour, which I recommend watching normally before you watch these, the links in the description. Much more efficient way of seeing the build, and it's got cool camera angles and stuff as well, so definitely go check that out. If you want to see the behind what's gone into making it, then this is where you need to be. So without further ado, let's talk about first of all the location, the Slog. So I'm not a fan of this place. I've never built at the Slog before, never really been interested in the Slog. I know people like this location, especially because of the focus on the pool at the back, which most people do kind of want to incorporate. I didn't want to do anything with the pool. I'm not interested in the pool area. So you might wonder why I picked this spot. Well, basically, I knew I wanted to do a gun shop. I just didn't want to build one from scratch because I wanted it to kind of be a big sort of mega store version of a gun shop. I've done a gun shop in the past. It's on my channel. What's it called? Diamond City Surplus Store, I think it's called. Much smaller version than this, so I wanted to do a bigger version basically, and I thought, yeah, it's not really going to look right built out of wood or trying to build a scrappy version, so I thought realistically they would probably pick a building that's already in the Commonwealth that exists and adapt it from there. That being said, I have made some alterations, as you can see, and the inspiration is probably what I can sort of lead into now. The inspirations come from Grand Theft Auto 5's ammunition, so the outside of this building is heavily sort of inspired by them. I'm from the UK, as you can tell, so I've never been to a gun shop in my life. We don't have gun shops over here. So yeah, that is my experience of gun stores, is GTA Online, and that's where I've kind of like got the look of it from. So they've got like these tall roof. Actually, this one particular is modelled off just one ammunition in particular in the game, not all of them. And yeah, so it's the one that's got this tall roof, this canopy on, that I can't actually remember where it is in the game, but if you play the game you've probably seen it at some point. And they've got this kind of like cobbled stone effect on the outside, which I did get asked about this actually. People say, oh, what texture pack is this from? But it's just these signs, these national park signs. I've used these a lot in other builds. They're really handy. I've used them for fireplaces, decorative walls, kitchen splashbacks. I've used it for lots of things. So, and now I've used it for a gun store. Some of them are flipped upside down, which you probably can't see yet, just to make the effect. So to do this front panel, for example, I've removed a lot of the walls that are on the existing building, just get the window in. We've got like the bars, which is some zoo cage thing. You'll have to forgive me because when I walk around these builds, even though this is my most recent build, I still look at things and think, what the hell is that? What did I use for that? So, because like a lot of time when I'm putting things together, I don't necessarily know straight away what I want to use. Like I know what I want it to look like, but I don't know every single item, so then I have to scroll through and try and find things that fits. So I think this is legitimate the first time I've used this cage on anything, but yeah, worked out well. The rest of it, you can see what all that is. The guns sign from CVA. More signs from CVA, more signs. So yeah, so this outside part is pretty much all pre-built, apart from what I've just sort of layered up on top of it, and then you can see the ceiling, or the roof I should say. The letters are from EBM, I think, a mod called EBM. Is it called EBM? I'll put the list of mods in there, so I might be wrong. I know all the mods. I know exactly where to find all these mods in my build menus, but I forget the names of them sometimes. So I'll put I'll have a full mod list in my description. I think it's called EBM. Anyway, just before I go inside, I want to talk about the doors, because I spent ages on these doors. Not building the doors, but I spent ages just choosing the right doors. I kept just putting lots of different doors and just trying to find which ones I like the look of. I've changed the dimensions slightly as well to make the doors fit better. But I thought a double door, first of all, worked as more of a statement. Like a lot of shops have a double door and they just look, you know, a bit more grand to come in. So I put the double door on, but yeah, I wanted it to look sort of secure at the same time as kind of matching the rest of the wooden effects. So that's kind of why I ended up with these doors. But as you can see, what I've done to them, I've put they don't work, obviously. You can't open and close that door because I've layered stuff on top of it. So we've got the chain link fences and then the signs in the window, so that automatically makes the doors, they would look weird when they open. And then, but to combat that, I'll just prop this little dumbbell just to make it look like the door's held open on purpose. So that kind of in your head straight away makes you think, oh yeah, the door doesn't need to be opened and closed because it's propped open. So yeah, through the opening hours, it just adds to the effect that they want you to come in, looks welcoming, but at the same time want you to look secure and yeah, a bit beat up. And then the trash outside as well has a bit of a contrast. Again, I don't like, I did have a guy here actually. There was a guy here sweeping. And I can't remember why I moved the guy. Why did I move the guy? I think he kept moving. I think the guy, yeah, exactly, that's what it was. The guy was pissing me off because he kept moving around. He wouldn't just stay in his fucking spot. So I got rid of the guy and he was sweeping up some debris, I think, or something. So I swapped the guy for some trash. That's how it came about. But I really liked the trash in the end, and I messed around with it in different places, and then in the end I just put this trash can falling over and then hand placed all the rubble. That's not a mod or anything. It's just normal pieces. The only reason I can't click on it is because of this in the way. But yeah, you can just see it's all individual stuff. So yeah, so like little things like that, little details, they come about in various weird ways where I had one thing there and then I removed it for another, and it kind of just spilled out as this rubbish. It just makes it look a little bit more like, you know, like real. I don't like this sign. This sign's shit. I never was happy with that sign. I don't actually know why. It looked weird without the sign. When I took the sign away, it didn't quite look, it looked a bit bare. So I had the sign there, and then I got used to the sign being there, so I just left it. I had to write all this stuff, and I had to tilt it all slightly as well, because the sign, so the sign is like slightly tilted back, obviously, so I had to tilt all the letters to make the sign fit. And once I'd spent time doing that, I was like, oh, you know, I'll just leave the sign. But yeah, I'm not happy about the sign. The rest of the outside, I like everything on the front part of it. All the people doing stuff, I like. It's just the sign sucked. Anyway, right, on to the good stuff. So, the layout. GTA. This is 100% GTA layout. So in the ammunition stores, you have this long counter when you come on this side, and you have this counter that kind of L shapes and goes on a 45 degree around the wall. So that's where I got the shape of it. The rest of it is just me just doing stuff. But yeah, definitely GTA. The counter itself. There's a lot of stuff in this actually. I don't know how to. It's all made out of wooden planks and display cases, but I did start with the display cases. You can just see the metal shelf that's where my little dot is now, and where the bottom of the shelf is. So I got the line, I got the kind of line and the spacing right with that first. So that the metal shelves gave me kind of like a framework. And then I used the poles that are on the actual shelving themselves to line the wooden columns up, these pieces. And so you can see where the framework of the shelf is there. So that helped get everything kind of like symmetrical and straight. Once I got that, and I just again go back to why I did that. I didn't want metal. That was why I didn't just use the shelves and just do that. Plus it just looks shit because, you know, just looked like shelves sunk into the floor. It didn't really look very sturdy and like a proper counter. So I wanted wood. That was something I just knew in my head. I wanted the wooden theme. So yeah, so I used the shelves to kind of line that up. And then once I got those in place, then I wanted the glass fronts. I kind of knew I was going to use the display cabinets, I just didn't really know when or how. So then yeah, I picked these because of the glass, and plus I wanted the fronts to open. You know, you can open the fronts, and then that was kind of it really. And then just put the plywood on top, planks of wood on the bottom, which you can't quite get to that there. So these floorboard plank type things, they're from CVA. So so yeah, so it's laid up of a lot of pieces like that, and then the backing parts are the retextured wall panels with the weapon texture, your weapon wall panel textures. And then each one's a bit different, so you've got like angled shelf pieces in there, just slightly tilted. What else have we got different? A couple there. Some have just got like the actual existing weapon parts sunk into the floor. The weapon display cases, I should say. Smaller one there as well. It wasn't that hard, but it was a little bit time consuming really, because you know, like just lining all these things up and just making it look like it's like every part's covered and there's nothing missing, there's no gaps and things. Sometimes it just takes a while to do that, but I really think the actual counter kind of makes it. Once I got the counter in, oh, I will talk about something just while we're on the counter. So the counter was too big for the room, so I had to move the room out a little bit, because if I had made the counter fit the room, you would have not really had much floor space at all. The counter would have probably started about there, and this one probably would have been about there, so it just didn't really, it didn't look right. It didn't look like, you have to think in your head about, you know, a physical body walking around stuff, so it just looked too cramped up. So I moved the actual walls back inside this place. If you remember, if you've been here, so that back wall where the guns are now, that leads out onto the pool area, and in here you've got like lockers and stuff, and then a door through there to go into the was it just change rooms, I think, over there. Yeah, just changing rooms, and the same the other side. So I removed all those walls and just opened the room up a little bit, give it a bit more space, and then yeah, put the counters in. So yeah, that took time as well, because I tried a few times at different sizes and different layouts, and it didn't quite look right until I did this one. So yeah, the counter. So once the counter was in, it was kind of easy, but I spent a lot of time messing around with that, and then putting the ceilings and things in. I kind of dressed the room first, so the ceiling is like obviously not the original ceiling, and the floor is original floor, though I did have a floor on here before, a carpeted one, but there's a lot of textures that you see, the dirt and the mud that's on the mats. Yeah, I didn't put that down, that was already on the original layout and the original build. I liked the dirt, but I didn't like it on top of the carpet, so I removed the carpet in the end and just left it and put these mats down, so it looks like someone's come in from being muddy outside and they've walked over it. And yeah, so once that was in, the rest of it was kind of like I just kept building then, and just adding to it, and just making the shop look detailed and real, which I'm good at detailing. I find that's something I find it quite easy, but I know a lot of people struggle with detailing, and so I know it's not easy. I just find it I find it kind of like a natural sort of progression. As I add things, then more things just become logical. Oh, this would be here and that would be there. So one of the things I found more difficult with this one than just regular detailing is just detailing as a shop, and not placing things, because of like when you're say detailing a living room, and you think, oh yeah, the guy lives here, and you can scatter just some random, you know, bottles and drink and the usual cigarette ashtrays and the usual things that you would put like on display in someone's home, like, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah, you have to kind of put that out the window with a shop, and you have to sort of decorate into what you would find in a shop. So yeah, merchandise on display was like a different mindset, but it's still the same thing really. You just have to kind of think of it how a shop looks. So yeah, I just picked like a lot of the way I've done the displays. I just picked like, you know, certain kind of objects I wanted, like clothes, and then you went from there. So this This is just built of pallets, this display. So I've got pallets on the floor, 2 on the walls going up, and then once I've got like a rack sort of now just that I could hang things on, I just started adding clothing. The clothing itself, I don't have a mod for clothing. I wish I did. I know that every other platform seems to have mods with like racks of clothing. Why don't we have one on PlayStation? I don't know. People, modders, we need racked up clothing, please. I'm sick of hanging everything individually, so this takes ages, even though it looks like real simple. It's just a mod, but I have to flip an item of clothing on its side, make it static, and then get like coat hangers and stuff. But the coat hangers don't goddamn fit the clothing for some reason. So that coat hanger there is not, you can see how it sticks out of the shoulder pieces. The coat hangers are the wrong size for the clothing, they don't actually fit. So to make it look like they're coat hangers, they're actually meat hooks, which I can't move because it's one of those stupid ones that when you put it down you can't move again. But if I delete that and delete the other meat hook, I still can't click through it. God damn it, every meat hook. Okay, now I can pick up stuff. Yeah, so they're just clothing that I've tilted and put on the side, and then all those meat hooks were the actual, to make it look like it was a coat hanger. But the coat hanger itself, I've just put one in, a random one there to make it give the illusion that it is a coat hanger. One's been removed, clothing's been removed, and you know, just left that one there. But yeah, all the clothing hooks I've done are the same. They're all meat hooks because of that option. So please, the modder, please just make me a rack with clothing on. It would save me so much time for these kind of things. Same as there, that you can see the meat hooks are all simulated coat hangers. But this display itself, what the hell's happened to him? Oh, good old Fallout. So weird. It's just weird stuff. What was I going to say? Yeah, sorry. So the display itself, I thought turned out quite well. You know, like I liked just the simplistic look of it, but also kind of like a little feature they've made in the store. That's what I was trying to go for, rather than just a bunch of racks that you would just go and search through. I've tried to make it look like they've displayed it to make it look aesthetic as well as practical. You can get to some of the clothing. I looked through a bunch of different pictures on Pinterest and stuff of different shop displays, and got a few ideas and you know, a few different layouts from that. That definitely helps. Also just go to shops, but who goes to shops anymore? Everyone just goes online and buys stuff. So we forget actually how, well I forgot actually how shops look inside and how they display things a lot of times, because I do all my shopping online now. But yeah, so this centerpiece as well, this was something I put in, I'll put this in last, just because of, well, ease of navigating the build really. When you're building here, you don't want to have to have something always in the way. So I put this the very last thing I built. But I knew this was going in really early on in the build. I couldn't wait to sort of do a centerpiece. And dead simple. It really is very simple. Just a bunch of cinder blocks and some ply, and then just stack all the things you've got left that I've not used. I try to not use everything too often. There's not too many duplicated things on display. But yeah, you do run out of things to use. I've got to be honest. There's only so much stuff we've got obviously access to, especially on PlayStation. Other displays, I got ideas from, like, there was one weapon store. If you can hear noises, by the way, it's my dog. He always lies like right next to me and snores. So sorry if you can hear something. But yeah, so I got inspiration from one particular picture that I saw, I think on Pinterest, or I might have just gone on Google Images, can't remember. It was like a surplus type store, but also like a fishing shop. And they had like a canoe hung on the wall behind. I just thought it looked cool, so I did my version of that. It's just the using more hooks and just tilted it and hooked it on. I just thought it looked cool. It's a little bit bigger than the one that they had. They had like a more traditional size, slimmer canoe, but this is obviously quite a big one, this swan boat. So. But yeah, so all the displays that I've used, I've tried not to kind of duplicate or do too many of the same things. So, you know, the one behind the counter is more for the staff, just to grab stuff. So they're kind of like, you can see the difference between how that's displayed and how the ones for the customer are displayed. So that looks all nice and pretty. The one for the staff to just grab, not so much. They're just more practical for them. I think little things like that help kind of sell this shop, or help sell any shop you make. You know, think about how, you know, they want the customer to see something, and yet how they would use something. Of course, it's still on show. You can still see it, but sometimes you'll see, especially in these kind of shops, that the back of the counter looks like a real mess, and yet the front is kind of like nicer and neater, you know. So another example of a display. So again, I've seen this just in real life. I've seen netting used to hang things on and display stuff. Hence why I used the backpacks. I thought it kind of fit there, and also to kind of coincide with the kind of fishing tackle type store that I saw as well. You know, I've got the fishing rod there, so it just kind of, the fishing hat and maybe the tackle box with the toolbox. So yeah, I think the point I'm trying to make here, like rambling on about all this kind of individual stuff, is it all kind of, each separate thing all kind of ties in, and it maybe sells it, even if it's just subconsciously in your head, it sells the idea of what, you know, what this kind of place is about. So when you do decorate, if you do decorate shops, it's good to kind of to have a little theme going before you even start. And then, yeah, a gun shop is a theme on its own, but yeah, but just putting a bunch of guns out, you know, it just doesn't quite, it's not realistic. It's not how it would be. There would be other stuff, you know, like on the counter, for example, there's little details like a little you know, donations box. You used to kind of see those next to cash registers, or tills as we call them in the UK. And yeah, so there's like a few caps being popped into the box where the customer, you know, doesn't need the change, kind of thing. So yeah, so like on the counter, that's kind of the idea of that, really. And then the scales for weighing like loose stuff, loose shells maybe, I don't know. He's maybe been showing a customer something here. These weapons are on display. So these aren't necessarily a display. These are just being used or being felt. The back of the counter is pretty straightforward. The main thing, what was the main trick here for me, was all the framework, because I had this kind of wooden sort of theme I wanted to keep going from the counter to the back and the display. So getting all the frame, like the logs I've used, just to kind of get the right heights and make sure everything fits. So I had to readjust that quite a bit just to put everything in, really, so it all you know, didn't look too cramped up, but also looked like it just about fit everything, like it was all made to kind of measure. But yeah, after that it was just decorating it, really. And obviously the heads, the animal heads, kind of helps, you know, to sell the idea of the you know, the hunting and the game, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I don't think I really need to talk about too much about the back. I think you can pretty much see what's in there. These are from Toys Out of the Prams weapons mod. I can't say I've used it that much on its own, so this is the most I've used this mod, and I found this mod really useful for this stuff, just to be able to kind of like cut a few corners with placing some of the weapons. Like all the weapons that are laid out on the walls and stuff, normally I would like individually glitch them in, but the problem is when you do that, it's very difficult to line them up with the joysticks on the controller, and sometimes it looks like it's flat on there, and it's, you know, it's not quite right. So having these mods helped a little bit, just to kind of cut some of those corners and get it looking neat. But yeah, the behind the counter, oh, I like these guns. These guns come with the barrel always out, so obviously you can't really display those in every way that you could with a normal gun, but I thought it looked cool with them being in these little containers. So yeah, behind the counter, I didn't bother decorating actually the counter itself because, well, didn't need to. I was never going to show behind here, but also I'm a stickler for keeping everything running smooth, and I'm really proud of how smooth my builds are. I kind of It's kind of like something I really take a lot of time to try and get it looking smooth. I don't want to bullshit people when these are on PS4, as everyone that watches my builds know, but I don't want to do like camera tricks and show certain things and then cut things out so you don't really know. So it's all smooth on one pan, but really the actual build has been altered, and I don't do that. So my build is as it is, and I'm always kind of focused on kind of get it to run smooth. So you have to cut corners if you want to do that. So I don't really decorate in these places. Of course, if I was making this for a mod or something, yeah, I'd want to decorate every single area, but then you're going to risk getting frame drops and things like that. So, but from this angle where you see, I think I might have a panning shot in the actual tool like that, I think. So yeah, you don't really need to see much behind the counter. Same as this room here. I wanted a staff room, but never bothered going in here, so I didn't really need to be too much with the decor. So it's just kind of like what you would see through, that view. I think you might see that in the video, but it just sells the idea that there's something behind there. Yeah, I think you can see what I've done with these counters. They're just layered up normal counters that I've kind of glitched them into each other in a way that makes it look like they've got sliding doors on. That's all I've done with that, really. It looks like this is a door that slides across, but it's just a normal cabinet that's overlaid, and then I've just put the filing cabinets in those to make it again look like it's a different unit piece. But yeah, sometimes I get asked about these kind of things. Go, oh, what mod's that from? But it's just a bunch of other stuff put into another object to make it look like it's a new object. So the only other thing I wanted to mention here was this, which is the sunglasses stand. So I really liked the idea of having this kind of like display part on the counter. I wanted something, and I was going to do just magazines, but I'd already got magazines. I think I put that in already. Yeah, I had. So I was like, oh, I can't really have another magazine thing, and I toyed with the idea of having something like this before in another build. I can't remember which one it was. I was going to have like a sunglasses or something display. I think it might have been in my Nuka Town build, but anyway, doesn't matter. But yeah, so this was perfect to get this in here. It literally is just a magazine rack with sunglasses kind of glitched on it. It's not nothing special, but I think it just looks kind of effective. I wanted to have a little mirror. I think I did have a mirror on the top of there, but it like tilted towards. But there's no reflections in Fallout. Obviously, there's nothing with reflections, so it looked weird. Like it didn't look like a mirror, so I just changed it for that sign. But yeah, I don't think there's anything else to talk about in this room. The NPCs I will mention because they really do kind of help just sell the place a little bit, really. All the rugs that I use, they're just animation rugs. There's a few different mods that get these on, but yeah, they're a little bit temperamental. When you're trying to get them in spots like this, for example, which there's clearly no room for him to walk down there, you have to assign them and then like go to sleep or something, or fast travel away. Go to sleep's better. And if you do that, then when you come back normally, they're teleported into the right spot. But if you move or leave the place again and then walk back to the settlement, they'll have all moved. Some of them do move on their own, like that one that I said about outside sweeping. He just kept moving. I don't know what was wrong with him. And then sometimes there's one in particular, not this one. There's one animation where you just have him leaning against the wall, and every time you come look at the guy, he's moved a little bit to the right or the left each time. And yeah, it's really annoying. You keep having to reassign them all the time, but most of them are not glitchy, just those couple, and they tend to stay right where they're being told. You have to line them up a little bit because the heights, like this counter isn't quite the right height, so I had to sort of sink him in the floor a little bit with the rug. But yeah, they'll pretty much go anywhere you want if you teleport or if you sleep. I think that's it now. The signs you can see on the walls, like the kill or be killed sign, that's from CVA as well. The the top of it is the gun bit, that bit there, so there's just another one of those signs sunk in. And then the crosshair neon, that's not a mod either, it's just a bunch of letters tilted. I think the middle bit, I'm not going to have to get to that, am I? Let's delete that one. I layered up two letter O's to kind of give it a bit more thickness, but you can see that they're just hyphens. And an exclamation mark for the centerpiece. So that's all that is. Pretty simple, really. Now this room, this stumped me for ages because I knew I wanted a shooting range in here. Again, ammunition inspiration. Definitely knew I wanted a shooting range because that particular gun shop had a shooting range, and I just didn't know how to get to the shooting range. I didn't want to just have a room that you like, a corridor and then a room. I kind of wanted something else, just to make it a little bit more interesting for the tour, but also just, you know, something else in the build that wasn't just a gun shop and a shooting range. So this room, yeah, I didn't know what to do with this room for ages. I built the room and just left it, and then put the shooting range here, and yeah, I ended up coming up with like a little conference type room where they do like training and things as well. Hence I've got the railroad sign, so I figured, yeah, maybe it's run by maybe they have like a railroad type secret meeting here or something, whatever, I don't know. It was just something to kind of use the room for that maybe made sense in the game as well as in the build itself. And so yeah, so then, you know, conference rooms, pretty boring rooms to build. Not really like anything interesting to look at, so I kind of tried to make the best of a boring room but make the room look interesting and believable. So there really is nothing in this room, as you can see. It's pretty shit really, but the layout of the chairs suggests that something's happened, you know, that people have been sitting in here. They're kind of uneven and just like, you know, messy. If you've ever been in any kind of work seminar or training thing, you kind of know this is how they kind of lay that. People just grab chairs and lay them out, and you've always got like a central thing they're focused on, and then you've always got normally a bunch of chairs like at the back of the room where you can pull extra chairs from. So that's the idea of that. It just looks a little bit I don't know, it's believable. It looks realistic to me anyway. That's how I've seen these rooms in real life, and that's kind of what I built. And so it's boring, but still hopefully has interesting things to see, because you'll be like, oh yeah, that's how that looks, and that's how they would be. The chalkboard is just, I think it's just a flip round painting. I think I've just flipped it around backwards. I can't click on it because of these damn things. Yeah, it's just a painting. I'll flip round. So the railroad signs, I think, is from CVA. I'm pretty sure it's from CVA. And I've just put some wooden posts on the bottom and then bits of chalk. Dead easy. Oh, and that's a clothing rail, as I'm sure you can see. But yeah, really nothing to talk about this. It is that simple. It's pretty much what you see is what you get. I just thought it was a more interesting way of getting to the shooting range, really. The window built the same way as the window at the front, just added the bars to it again. The glass pieces, if you're wondering where you get the glass from, there's very little mods that actually have glass in Fallout 4 and the PS4. This one is from my requested mod. It's called Fallout 4 Guys Requested Parts. It's in the work in progress section. I've had a few people say they can't find that mod, by the way. It's not been taken down, it's just that you cannot type into the search bars in Bethesda's shitty search engine on the store. I don't know why you can't do it on the mod page. So you have to manually scroll through. So, you know, go to the work in progress section, manually scroll through them one by one until you find it. You won't be able to type it at the top. That's the way it is. Same as QwaPA and any other mod that's in work in progress still. Even though QwaPA's perfectly safe and finished, Tim just hasn't put it in the actual official mod section. So yeah, you can't search for it. You've got to manually get it, but it's there. It's called Fallout 4 Guys Requested Parts, and it is full of little cool little things like this. That's sort of not in any other mods. I don't think I've not seen that anywhere else. And yeah, and the curtains just sell the fact it's a window. That's about that. I followed the framework that I use in the other build, the other part of the build. This is something that's important, I think, throughout. You know, try and tie your architecture throughout if you can. It makes, not unless obviously you want it to have it look like it's come from, you know, different eras or whatever. If you want to have like some parts look like it's been built by someone else, then fine, make it different. But I wanted this to look like it'd all been built at the same time, so it all gets tied in together, so the wood runs throughout the theme. And yeah, I wanted this, you know, I wanted you to be able to see this, so that's why I did this look. I think it's a real cool sort of shot through that window, really, seeing the gun range. The shooting range itself, I'm particularly proud of this. Hang on a sec, I'll be right back. Sorry about that pause there. I had a doorbell incident. I had to go answer the door. Yeah, so what was I saying? Yeah, so the gun range, I wanted this to look like a real gun range. Again, I've never been to a gun range before. We do have these in the UK, but I've never been to one. But I've seen plenty of movies and stuff, and I wanted kind of like a more modern type gun range, even though it's probably not how one would look in maybe Fallout 4. But yeah, so the metal, the glass, meant to look like kind of like, you know, like bullet resistant glass, safety glass, and the cubicles, all built by just little bits and bobs, these sliding doors, and you can see the posts. These are industrial frames from USO, I think, and you know, like the vault window pieces just flipped. And then the use of concrete through the actual shooting part itself is important, you know, to have it look like it's safe and, you know, bullets aren't going to be flying all over the place. Different choice of concrete right at the end. I chose that purely because of the brickwork had all this damage on, which to me from a distance looked like bullet holes. So although I could have just used this, see, this is all spotless and perfect, it just didn't look like something had been shooting at the end, so I chose that brick wall, which I don't actually know what mod that's from. I don't have that many mods. I've got like 12 mods that are building, so I think it's either from workshop base game items. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's from that mod, or it's from that PS4 Skylines mod, but I don't think it's from that. I think it's from the workshop base games item. Anyway, chose it because of the bullet holes, and I just think it looks like it's been shot at a lot. And the targets, I haven't really got much choice for targets, so it's kind of like that's, you know, that was it. That was my only choice. I haven't got anything else on the PlayStation 4 other than the cardboard cutout gangster things, but I thought that looked shit. So yeah, I used these just flipped up to different angles. So each lane has got its own distance. So you'd come in this lane for small arms fire, they're nice and close, and as you go through, they get a bit further away to this one, which is obviously long range for rifles and so forth, and that reflects the shells of what's being used as well. So you look at the shells on the floor, look, they're different shell casings for different caliber weapons. Again, you know, this kind of thing maybe you didn't even see on the video on the tour itself, but it all adds a little bit. You can just about see them from there. It adds a bit of detail, and it adds a bit of bit more life to it, really. You know, the goggles, for example, safety goggles just being sort of left behind. And there's some more there, yeah. Shooting glasses. Yeah, that kind of stuff just kind of brings it a little bit to life for me. So little touches. You know, same as the step up. I could have just gone completely flat with the floor and ran it through, but I found this step up just divided the room a little bit better. You know, it looked like you had a definite sort of this room ends here and this one starts here, so you got this kind of safety area almost with this step up not being here. It didn't look, I don't know, it didn't look right basically as I put the step up in. I think things like that, again, before I started to do these behind the scenes videos, I didn't really think of stuff like that, about why I did certain things. I just did them naturally. But the more I think about them, the more I realize, I kind of dissect in my head of like why I did that, and it just divide the room up. These construction barriers, I just thought they were good because they got the little warning warning lines on that you see on some of these type of areas where they have like painted orange and white sort of markings on. Sometimes you see them on the ceilings as well, and you've got like low ceilings, but thought it just looked right there. And yeah, and the wires on the floor again, just a bit of detailing. It looked a little bit empty without having that, and because I've got these lights and obviously the electronic target signs, I just thought it'd be cool to have like a power point there that's coming through and then cables running off it. They don't actually lead to anything or do anything obviously, but it just looks good. And I think that's it. Not really a long behind the scenes, which I'm glad, because I always think I waffle on for too long with these things, but yeah, there's not that much to talk about really. I suppose you can see everything. What I will say about this build though, I think doing shops and probably bars for me are one of my love-hate relationships with it. I really enjoy doing shops and bars and kind of stuff where I have to decorate and make little cool displays. I do enjoy it. I think I do. I'm like, oh yeah, I get excited about doing like that. Like when I thought about doing this gun shop, I was like, yeah, I can't wait to get that gun shop and sort of make all the cool displays. But then as I'm doing them, I hate it. I'm like, why the hell did I think to do a stupid gun shop as I'm placing fiddly items, as I'm placing like you know, what you call it, like ammo cases on their own, like bit by bit. I'm like, oh fuck, and why did I choose to do this? But then when I stand back, when it's all finished and all the details are in and the displays are all done, and I stand back and look at them and think, yeah, now I know why I wanted to do like gun shops or bars and stuff, because they tend to like have a real satisfying look. So you kind of stand back and think, yeah, it looks actually like the work has paid off. And this one in particular, I was just really happy with just the displays. Really, the displays for me are this build, all the little set pieces I got to make. And that was the main thing, but there was a lot of structural alterations that went in as well that that kind of took a bulk of the time up. Or the bear. I'm just going to talk about the bear because people comment on the bear. The bear was so easy. It was dead simple. I literally just put the bear statue in, which is from USO. I think it's in the Nuka section, and then this sign underneath, which is dead simple. In fact, this sign is from the same mod. This is from the EBM. I think it's called EBM. We need to find that out. It's Kuro, a fellow builder that he's done a few mods, PS4 mods, and yeah, dead simple. And the only reason I put that in is because I had the bear outside, but I'd used the bear on my other build, the Diamond City Surplus Store one, and I just didn't want to do the same thing, so I just tried to think of a different way of having the bear. So the sign with the little lantern in his mouth, I thought that was cool. But people were like, oh, I love that bear. So yeah, that was that. And that is it, I think. I don't think there's anything else I need to say. No, I think that's pretty much everything. There's nothing else I need to mention about this stuff. Obviously, I don't really need to say about the patriotic theme I wanted to have. You can see all that there, but the flags and stuff was important to kind of get that kind of American feel that I love to see in these kind of shops, especially in the ammunition. There's a real like Team America style when you go in there. The guy's like this real fucking patriotic dude behind the counter. There's like American flags everywhere. I love it. It's great. So yeah, I wanted to kind of do that as well. But other than that, that was pretty much it really. It was just a simple kind of get the building outside to the right layout that I wanted, the right size of the roof and everything, and then just dress it up. Dead easy. Anyway, I think I've got one more behind the scenes video to get out, I think. One that I haven't done yet. I think it might be my Starlight driving one. My player home, so I'll be putting that up soon, and I can finally move on and not have to think about behind the scenes that I've missed out showing you guys. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed and found something useful in this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks guys.